Hello, I'm Terry David Mulligan. This is the Mulligan Stew Podcast. The guest on this show has been here before. Actually, you heard her a couple of weeks ago if you're following along. In 2017, I had a great conversation with Rhiannon Giddens about the change in her life when T-Bone Burnett said to her, "It's time for you to step out and become a voice," and she did, from the Carolina Chocolate Drops. So I find her in the same place that I did the last interview, Edmonton, at the Edmonton Folk Festival, but in the CKUA tent. I don't know that she remembered doing the interview. I certainly did. But I think she recognized the line of questions that I was asking her about what had happened to her in the 5 years since we last saw each other. Everything, by the way. The fact that she became Carolina's Southern Futures Artist in Residence, and it allowed her to get her hands and her mind on the archives of Carolina. Many stories in there, and possible songs as a result. And, of course, we always would talk about the banjo, which she has always talked about, and how it came through the slave community, through Africa, and became part of, strangely enough, it became part of country. Except for Country Charlie Pride, there were very few black faces in country music. That's changing, and the banjo is leading the way. As a matter of fact, Beyonce's new album starts with a banjo being played by Rhiannon Giddens. So, a conversation with a brilliant mind, wonderful human being, winner of a Pulitzer Prize, writer of an opera, just remarkable. In the CKUA tent, we welcome Rhiannon Giddens. Welcome back. This is Mulligan Stew, CKUA Radio. I am handing the guest mic to Rhiannon Giddens. You came from the merch. Hello, welcome back.
Hi.
I've seen you through here with Carolina Chocolate Drops, and then first steps in, and it just seems 5 years go by.
So fast, especially the 5 that have just been. They were particularly.
What do you remember about the last 5 years? Because it must have been a blur.
I mean, yeah, a lot of different reasons. There's been a lot going on for me professionally, but then there's been a lot going on in the world. So
yes,
it's kind of hard to fathom, really. You know, I feel like 5 years wasn't 5 years ago. It's a little weird.
You were over in the merch tent. Is there music over there that we should seek that maybe is not available elsewhere?
Of what? Of mine?
Yours.
Oh, I think it's all available. I think, but like, you know, it's always better to have one in the hand, I like to say, than trapped on Spotify where we don't see much of that. So I'll just put a plug in for the old hard copy.
Thank you. I had a conversation with Terry Wickham, who, of course, produces this festival. And I said, what do you really want to do? He said, I want to do a banjo year.
Hey.
All banjo.
If he, you know, I mean, it might be the last year of the festival, but like.
Did it all start literally for you with a banjo in your hand?
It all started with singing.
Yeah.
And I'm a singer who plays banjo. I'm not a banjoist who sings, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But like this current career, yes, absolutely started with the banjo.
I just saw how driven you were to tell the story, not just of the instrument, but where it came from, how it got there, and how you want to represent their voices in what you do.
Absolutely. It's the only reason I'm still in the music industry, to be honest with you. I mean, it's like, it's a hard thing to do and to stay sane in. So the mission of telling the story of the banjo was created by the African diaspora in the Caribbean as a byproduct of, you know, the transatlantic slave trade. Yeah, that is my reason for being, and it has kept me sane and grounded, even as it's a very heavy burden to carry.
You became Carolina's Southern Futures Artist in Residence. It allowed you to get your hands on the archives.
Yes.
Where did that lead you?
I mean, it didn't lead me anywhere startling. I didn't think I was going to discover anything per se that other people hadn't discovered. But what was important for me was I'd done a lot of my research online or in books, secondary source books, sure, where you read about the primary source. But I could hold in my hands, you know, journals of slave owners writing to each other, or letters, you know, their journals, their letters. And most of the time I was fine. It was like important for me to see the writing, just to read page after page of like boring everyday stuff, you know, like, you know. And then, you know, it'd be like, oh, sorry, I haven't written in a while. You know, we had a hard harvest, and, you know, one of the cows got sick and we sold Betty, and you know what I mean? It was that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Like, that was good for me to see. But the hardest thing about, I think, that whole time was when I wasn't warned and I opened up a folder and there was a sales slip for a young girl. And it was, that was hard because I when you're not prepared, it's like the reality of it kind of smacks you in the face. So that was important for me to go through.
And I know you didn't go in there looking for themes or songs or ideas or sentences for songs, but words have a way of working their way through the human system, and eventually they just pop up at just that moment. And that's what I was thinking of when I said you had your hands on the archives.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the Southern Futures Project is that they didn't have any kind of expectation of what I was going to walk out of there with, because they know how I work, and it's like something that I read in there might be in a song 10 years from now, it might be in a song next year, it might be in a show. Like, I know all of that stuff has gone into my creative space, and it will work its way out, as you said.
Any other voices in there that you hadn't expected?
There was a whole string of Irish jokes by black laborers in North Carolina in the 40s and 50s, which were fascinating to me. I was just like, wow, we're all talking about each other,
I was thinking indigenous. Did you find that stream in there?
That was a whole nother part of my residency there, working with the Indian Cultural Center there and trying to just learn more about the legalities which the Lumbee tribe has faced for so long in North Carolina, and just trying to educate myself about it, because I like to say I'm Native adjacent. I don't, I know I've got mixed ancestry, but I try to amplify others' voices, and I try to raise the awareness of our mixed heritage, and also just the invisibility of so many Native nations, because people think the history is over, and people are still here. So I'm using my platform as best as I can to sort of raise other their stories.
Have you crossed over into being an educator?
I mean, there's no crossing over. I've just started that way.
Storyteller.
Yeah. When people, because I didn't know the history of the banjos, so I'm like, I didn't know. Let's all learn together. That's just how it's been. Like,
for example, the history of banjo in country music, and black voices playing and discovering. Now, of course, it was when we first saw country, it was very white. But then we realized, in listening to people like you, that it came to them through black artists.
Well, it came through cross-cultural collaborative, working class efforts, right, of people of all colors. However, the thing we always fail to talk about is that the country we're talking about is commercial country.
Yes.
Right? And so commercial country is based on a folk music that really is a shared heritage of all of the colors of the people who are there. But at the center of it is this black string band, which is taking in all of this music and mixing it and creolizing it, because they were, a lot of places were enslaved and they were used as dance bands. And so there's this central, kind of pole that has been totally erased from the narrative, and when you take that out, nothing makes sense. You have to put it back in, and then you can look at how it's been a collaborative music, but you can't collaborate if there's no different groups to collaborate with. You know what I mean? If you just say, oh, it just sprang out of the mountains, like Athena from the head of Zeus. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. It was literally hundreds of years of, the banjo, of the fiddle, of people synthesizing this music, of people living next to each other, poor, having nothing, and seeing each other, and then the commercialization of minstrelsy. I mean, it's a massively complicated story that we reduced to a soundbite of black people belong in country music too. It was well, yes, but the history itself is actually much more interesting, much more indicative of the greatness of America, because the greatness of America is its people. You know what I mean? It's not the nation state. It's not the laws. It's not the Constitution. It's the people who survived unimaginable hardships. They came from all over the world. They were already there, and they all had to kind of pull together against this sort of ruling hegemony that just wanted to extract all of the wealth from the land. Sorry, I'm just... No. It just is what it is.
No. So conversely, Beyonce's entry into country with her album, your banjo leading the first thing that you hear, that's going in another direction entirely. Who knows where it leads?
Who knows? I would be the last to know.
How was the experience?
I mean, it was... the thing that I'm excited about for that is that she has been able to reach a whole swath of people that I would have never reached in a million years with my banjos. So I'm really grateful for the sound of my banjo to have been, placed in front of a lot of people who now kind of know what it is and are excited about it. So that's really wonderful.
Let me throw your words back to you, which is always the best part of being an interviewer. We're over there in the green room. They're not pouring beer at the time. You talked about this was 2017. Grateful. I didn't see this coming, this career. When you follow the muse, you have to prepare and put in the work, and then an opportunity comes along, you go for it. I was not going to hold on to a preconceived notion of what my career was going to look like. I'm just going to follow where I'm led. Where did it lead you?
It led me to an opera, led me to a ballet, led me to Pulitzer, I guess, led me to being able to tell stories that are really important to me, led me to be able to make music with so many incredible people. I mean, I'm just so lucky to feel fulfilled in what I do and to be playing with such incredible people like you'll see tonight and have these long histories with artists and musicians who are after the same thing, and to also have gotten accolades which help me get the next gig, when in and of themselves, I don't really I'm like, doesn't mean that I'm better than anybody else. That meant that moment in that time, that group of people thought my thing was good. It could have been different if it had been a different day and a different group of people. But it allows me to then, like the MacArthur allowed me to spend 5 years on an opera. You know what I mean? Without having to, and telling the story of Omar ibn Said, who was, an enslaved Muslim scholar. These are the stories that I feel like need to be told. And so when I was given an opportunity to do it, I just said yes, and then I freaked out and I did it. But I did it with a lot of help. And that's the thing is I believe in community, and I believe in collaboration, and I believe in conversation. And so I've been so blessed to I have a surfeit of all of those three things.
You can have her back. Listen, I just want to wish you the best of luck in your life, in your wishes and your dreams, in that stage tonight. I'm going to leave with Petty Country track. Don't come around here no more, which was a message to Joe Walsh to get out and don't come back. Thank you for this. Thank you for whatever you're going to do. All right.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
See you in 5 years.
All right. Hopefully sooner. All right. Thanks. That was lovely.
Somebody take a photo, please. Thank you.